Space Rider hardware, MaiaSpace update, Chinese space debris, Starbase update, Amazon Kuiper satellite update, launches of the week. I'm Christophe Paget from All About Space, and this is your Space Update. Let us start the news in Europe with the Space Rider program from ESA. The Space Rider is an unmanned, reusable spacecraft designed for running autonomous experiments in microgravity, such as 3D printing or pharmaceutical drug making, and countless more. The Space Rider consists of a vehicle itself and the service module, a sort of space tug to bring the spacecraft to the designated orbit and to provide fuel and power for the duration of the experiments. Avio is in charge of the service module and has recently completed its manufacturing. The module is this week on its way to be tested at ESTEC facilities in the Netherlands under mechanical loading for simulating the severe launch loads that the module will endure. As for the Space Rider vehicle, you might remember the recent agreement by the Portuguese space agency to allow ESA to land its craft in the Azores via power-foiled and spoilers for precise landing. Now, this week, EuropeanSpaceflight.com has interviewed the ESA Space Rider program manager Dante Galli about the progress of the Space Rider and future plans. Dante explained that ESA has planned to meet towards the end of the year to discuss and secure funding, I quote, for the preparation of the first reflight, the relevant transition to a commercialization, exploitation phase, and possible evolutions, and insisted that the current project objectives are already fully funded. The Space Rider prime contractor, Thales Alenia Space, targets the maiden flight of the Space Rider in 2027 atop an enhanced version of the Vega C named Vega C+, which will have a larger P60 solid fuel booster manufactured by Europropulsion, a joint venture between Avio and Ariane Group, necessary to account for the payload weight increase and desired orbit. The P60 booster will be common to the Ariane 6 side boosters, expected to be available next year, therefore boosting Ariane 6 performance too. In fact, it is because of the availability of the P60 booster that the Space Rider maiden flight has been delayed to 2027. One of the 16 planned payloads on this maiden flight will be a satellite to be used for separation, proximity flight, and potentially re-entry into the cargo bay to test not only satellite delivery but also in-space debris capture. Throughout this year, ESA will carry out further drop tests with the specimen getting closer each time to the real craft to validate precise landing capabilities of the parafoil system. In a recent interview by EuropeanSpaceflight.com again, with Yohann Leroy, CEO of MaiaSpace, we have learned a few things. Let me summarize them for you. So, for more information about MaiaSpace, I suggest you watch my video on the European rockets part 1, linked in the descriptions. The interview was discussing whether Maia rockets would be implementing in their current designs the results of the ESA-funded Themis project developed by Ariane Group, the parent company of MaiaSpace. Yohann replied that he would consider so long the performance and cost expectations are met, and that it was already in discussions with relevant parties to create strategic partnerships. Curiously, MaiaSpace has not used the experience nor reused existing parts and test facilities from Ariane Group, therefore going alone. MaiaSpace has recently received the first parts of his booster in his Vernon factory in Normandy, northwest of Paris, and is preparing to test it in the coming month. Yohann reconfirmed that the first flight of his rocket will happen in the second half of 2026 with an expandable booster version, eager to start operations early to protect his business case and return on investment. The first booster recovery is expected in 2028. The majority of the second stage demonstrator is already assembled and is expected to be tested in the second half of this year, including cryogenic tank tests and engine hot fire tests. Yohann also mentioned that a test flight was expected in the first half of 2026, but was not able to confirm the flight profiles just yet, but would likely be a suborbital flight. MaiaSpace philosophy is, from the mouth of the CEO, test, learn, and iterate the design, very much like SpaceX is doing, which is very refreshing to see and far from the ethos of his parent company, a trade off between performance and time saving at the beginning, and keep improving the rocket over time whilst getting payloads to orbit. The business model of MaiaSpace was to use the same rocket and offer various payload capabilities by using reused or expanded booster, as well as using or not is Kickstage Colibri to add an additional 1-ton payload capability to his rocket, as depicted in the table below. Therefore, Maia will be capable of covering a payload weight ranging from 0.5 tons to 2.5 tons in sun synchronous orbit and even up to 4 tons in more inclined orbits. I mentioned in my last episode that CASC has launched a Long March 3B in the afternoon of January 23rd. However, it happens more times than I can count where Chinese rocket segments do land unburned near habitation in China. Now, here is a CCTV camera footage of a terrifying moment after the Long March 3B segment dropped very close to a residential building, but China is not the only one. Recently, the Starship number 33, which flew on January 16th this year, exploded 8 minutes after takeoff, scattering a large amount of debris through a safe corridor controlled by the FAA. However, at least one part fell into a car in Caicos Island. The FAA is expected to impose modification of flight path to prevent an event from occurring again. Another example was a metal support of a battery pallet that was jettisoned from the International Space Station in 2021, which did not fully burn into the atmosphere, and a part of it crashed through a home in Florida on March 8th last year. Luckily, no casualties occurred in all these events. At Starbase, at the launch site, SpaceX continued the preparation of the Tower number 2 to receive the chopsticks. Both chopsticks have been installed on its support and installed onto the tower. The staff continued working on the Tower number 2 launch mount, a never-ending task it seems. After the flight test number 7 a few weeks ago, the launch mount number 1 was being checked and repaired, as we have seen in all previous occasions. I hope that launch mount number 2 will remove the need of repairs after flight, otherwise rapid reusability of Starship will be compromised. At the production site, the team was working on the flame deflector for the Tower number 2 launch mount. It looks like a beast. A section of Starship number 35 was transferred from the Star Factory to the Mega Bay for assembly. The race has started for fast internet to customers in remote areas from low Earth orbit. Project Kuiper is Amazon's answer to the SpaceX Starlink constellation. Amazon has just completed its first production satellites, which were shipped to Cape Canaveral ahead of launch on a ULA Atlas V in March 2025. The satellites are now being processed and integrated into the Atlas fairings, ready for launch. It is not mentioned how many fit inside the fairings, but it anyhow represents 6 very large boxes of them. This follows a long series of tests carried out by the Kuiper's team since mid-November 2023. January 24th, SpaceX launched a Falcon 9 from California for a Starlink mission Group 11-6. The first stage flew for its 23rd time and landed on a drone ship. January 27th, SpaceX launched a Falcon 9 from Florida for a Starlink mission Group 12-7. The first stage flew for its 20th time and landed on a drone ship. January 29th, ISRO launched its Geosynchronous Satellite Launch Vehicle GSLV Mark II rocket from India for its mission NVS-02, part of the Indian GPS satellite constellation. January 30th, SpaceX launched a Falcon 9 from Florida for its mission SpainSat NG-1. The first stage flew for its 21st time and was expanded for performance reasons. In summary, from January 1st until January 30th, 2025, 21 rockets were launched successfully. Out of that, 14 were from an American company or institution and 1 from India. I leave you this week with a picture from the Hubble Space Telescope of the Large Magellanic Cloud, a dwarf galaxy situated about 160,000 light-years away from us in the constellations Dorado and Mensa. Although it is called large, it is in fact only about 10 to 20% of the Milky Way galaxy. It contains some of the most impressive star-forming regions in the nearby universe. In fact, you are looking at a portion of the cloud called the Tarantula Nebula. This image incorporates ultraviolet and infrared light as well as visible light. Researchers are studying these distant dust grains, helping to understand the role that cosmic dust plays in the formation of new stars and planets. Now, thank you for watching your channel all about space. See you at the next episode of Space News.